Beyond Brussels.
You can get a sense of the city just from the walk from my flat to BSIS in the morning. The diversity of Brussels is hyper-visible. Whether it's the bilingual signs on the street, the kebab frites shop on the corner, or hearing a mother talk to her young son in a mix of Arabic and French, it's a beautiful mosaic of people and stories. We wanted to know what makes Brussels, Brussels.
Art is a language that everybody can understand it, and it's the easiest way to explain your feelings, your suffering, your happiness, your sadness, everything you imagine inside yourself. You can express it through art, and which is the best way to communicate.
There are so many communities in this city. There are over 150 nationalities, and that's just looking at their passports.
My name is Bilal. I came from Mosul. I studied English literature for 2 years. My main job is cars mechanic, but I love to do art.
My name is Adnan Lamarty. I'm from Belgium, Brussels. I'm born here. I live Belgian, I live European, I went to school, I learned these languages, but still I feel more American.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm a Christian. I moved to Brussels 6 years ago from the UK to work in the institutions.
My name is Zaid Al Sefo. I'm an English teacher, a musician from Mosul, Iraq. I left Iraq around 4 years ago.
My name is Lucian, which means arrows. I'm born in Brussels. I used to live in Molenbeek for 26 years.
I'm Giacomo. I'm European, coming from Milan. I've been working as a trainee for around 1 year, and after that I became an assistant to a member of the European Parliament in the Trade Committee.
My name is Borak Amwania, and I'm a migrant.
We couldn't talk to everybody, but the ones that we found are some of the color that paint the picture of Brussels. All of their stories are different, but they are all valid.
We didn't come here legally, really. My sister and I raced down the stairs of the plane to be the first one to touch the snow. That's something that will stay in my mind. The next step was that we got stopped by the police.
First day I came to Gare Centrale. I didn't know what to do, I didn't know where to go. I was checking Google Maps. First pick was Delirium. So I went to Delirium Cafe. I met a lot of Belgians, tourists, and then went directly to Park Maximilian because I had some internet connections. I stayed there for around a week, waiting to get selected or to get sent to a camp. To be honest, that day or the next day I had mixed feelings, emotions. I saw many people who were looking for food, clothes, money, everything, you know? And the first day I was looking for a guitar. Like I kind of felt that my identity was lost. So maybe I can play music so people can be more friendly, which was correct.
The first time I came to Brussels, it was in the summer, like in the middle of the summer, and it was too cold at the morning, and I was like, what? And then I don't know where I am. I see different people. I don't know where I have to go. So I was like kind of lost in the middle of the people, you know?
Being new in any city is always a challenge. For some people, there's a bit more working against them, even if they were born in Brussels.
Yeah, I must say that the political story of the Belgium don't really help. We have two parliaments here in Brussels, the Flemish and the French. It's a completely nonsense, you know. You have something in common like hospital and all the health, but for the rest, school or culture, this is really like two parts, you know. It's not really helping, you know.
I entered a bar once just because I needed a tissue. They gave me the tissue, that's not a problem, but there was a woman, an old woman inside, who kicked me out, but really kicked me out. Everybody was watching me like, what is he doing here? I was the only Moroccan who was there, and I didn't ask why, and I didn't fight with her, or I didn't reply, because I already knew why it was. Otherwise, she wouldn't do that. I just asked very politely a tissue, and then she really kicked me out, like, go out, you don't have anything to do here.
Second or third day, I think it was like 10th of September, there was a beautiful demonstration to say welcome refugees. While on the other hand, the Commissariat General was doing its best to stop us, to provoke us, to say that you guys from Iraq are not welcome.
The head of the migration program at BSAS is an immigrant herself. Amanda's lived in Brussels for 16 years as an expat, which is different than a migrant. Or is it? She explains why.
It was really looking at the city of Brussels that made me start questioning this idea of this term expat or expatriate and migrant. Why do we say that the expats are all over at Place Luxembourg and the migrants are all down at Marché du Midi on Sundays? Why do we make that distinction? And indeed, that's what I've done research on. My book is called Migrants or Expatriates, and I look at Americans not in Brussels, but in London, Berlin, and Paris, trying to break that down. And really what my research has showed is that each of us as a migrant is identified with relation to our country of origin or our migrant community first and foremost. I am always seen as an American first and as Amanda second. And that's the case for all of us. And with Americans, or with what we call migration within the global north, people are associated with a country that has a higher status on the world stage. And people are often also granted that higher status. Americans are typically not seen as poor, although I have interviewed many Americans who are quite poor and who have been undocumented. And on the other hand, people who come from countries that don't have quite a high status on the world stage tend to be granted as individuals, achieve whatever they are. People are assigned a status of a lower status country on the world stage. And I think that's really where it comes from. It doesn't seem to be along racial lines. It doesn't seem to be along personal income lines. It rather seems to be along the wealth and international status of the country of origin of the person you're talking about.
Around 60% of the population here in Brussels is foreign-born. It's more common to be a migrant than it is to be a native Bruxellois.
There's no such a thing as being Belgian when you want to relate it to an identity or to a place. It's really how you feel. And I think a real Belgian is the Belgian who accepts diversity, who lives in diversity. You don't just need to accept it, you have to also to live in diversity.
We are Belgian. I got Belgian nationality, but I cannot change my face.
From like being an Arab, a Muslim, and in Brussels a migrant, it's not a big challenge, but it's life itself. I mean, being different is normal here in Brussels.
They will feel little bit discrimination. My son, my daughter, my cousin, they will, I think they will be better than us. We are foreigners here, the first generation here, we are really trying to survive.
We are all people that do not have any root here. We don't have nothing in common but being young and European. So being completely rootless and alone, it's very easy to make friends and to meet with new people. It's actually really exciting. But of course, sometimes you feel a bit detached from reality. That's why everyone, tries to get in touch with locals, which can also not be super easy because we are seen as overpaid bureaucrats who basically make their housing cost more. And again, not really attached to the place we live in.
Excel is an example of Brussels, of how different group of people can live together. I mean, you have the Congolese barber cutting the hair of a Caucasian, and next door you have you have somebody from Bangladesh or Pakistan holding an African store with African food. So it's like this mix. You ask yourself, wait, how did you even come to selling food from Ghana? You're from Pakistan or from Bangladesh or India, and it's just how people just see opportunities in this diversity.
If you go to Matonge, if you go to Gare du Nord, different worlds, you feel like you're transported into a totally different culture, and that's quite exciting. And as somebody who studied languages as well, it's cool because, they use French here, but you can also be learning Dutch, and you meet people who speak the languages that you know. And I think that, through work and through different things, you encounter some of these different worlds, and it leaves you with a sense of something bigger than yourself.
Different worlds, different languages make up the city. Brussels is multicultural, but it's not necessarily intercultural, where the cultures and different identities mix.
Brussels is a very segregated city, and not by force, but just by fear. As multicultural as people in Brussels are, they still fear other people.
I'm born here, I live here, I eat here, that's true, but I feel more Moroccan. Sometimes I feel European, but sometimes I don't want to feel European. Because of what happened, because of media who tells a lot of lies about us, so it puts a bar between me and other people, so we don't have contact anymore. I'm still Moroccan and I'm very proud of it, and I have to show it, and people have to recognize that Moroccan people are not bad. Me as a person who tries to find his way in this world, but I know that there are expectations by the system, by my parents, by my friends. But what do I really want? Who am I really? Am I really bad because of my religion? Am I really dangerous because I'm praying? I'm not saying that I am, or I'm just asking this. If I say something, then it's taken wrong immediately. Oh, why do you think like that? Oh, why do you think like that? Yeah, because I experienced that. So that's why I think like that, because it's like that. Yeah, but not everybody's like that. No, everybody thinks like that. All right, now I'm asking. I'm not saying, but I'm asking why does people think like that?
It's true, but I left a part of Molenbeek who was still only with Molenbeek, and when you go to a spectacle, it's often like Moroccans or like Muslims, and it's really difficult to make white people come and see, Then, when seeing the other side of the mirror, I don't know, it sounds super awful to say that, but I have the problem, but in the other side, they're like, yeah, but why don't we have like a mixed city here? It's always white people, only with white people doing stuff for white, and voila. It's super difficult to make them meet, So I'm like, yeah, okay. I really have the feeling I'm between the two, and I'm like, yeah, trying to find my place in both sides, but it's all about water and oil metaphor, but it's really this. You shake the thing and okay, you have a kind of, but then everybody goes like down or up, and like.
Night shop, restaurant, morning, evening, in the weekend. I mean, sometimes 7 days a week. The Belgian people, they don't work like this. They work 8 hours, they go to sleep. Even the police people here, you see the police people, they are running with their car. They are trying to spend their 8 hours. The migrant people and the people who has no paper, they are really hard worker here in Belgium. If you just stop 100%, the work job, the 24 hours job, what nobody will do.
After the World Wars, Belgium was in desperately need of workforce. And so there is a huge Italian community who came here 2 or 3 generations ago to work in mines. It's funny again because we do not even share the same language. Those second, third, fourth generation Belgians, from Italian origins, do not actually speak Italian. So we speak with them in French or English, which is kind of funny.
Like integration itself, it's not being included in a society or changing your identity. It's more like keeping your identity but enhancing it. You have like a painting and you make a small drawing on it without colors. That's you, the base. And then you add a couple of colors, which is the Belgian culture, which is a mix. That's the same you, but in a more beautiful way.
We met Zaid and Bilal at a Refugees Got Talent show, where not only did they play traditional Kurdish songs, Arab music, they also played a Gypsy King song, Bob Dylan, songs in Spanish, to a crowd of Bruxellois at a tiny bar in St. Catherine.
So I've been in Brussels almost 3 years here, and I like the atmosphere, and because Brussels have something special here, which is you can meet many other cultures, and as you see here, there's Arabs, Spanish, and other nationalities, like even American or Chinese, Asian people. So that's what I like actually in Brussels, because you will have the opportunity to meet many other nationalities and to meet many other cultures, and it's a nice way to communicate with people and to discover their words, and they discover yours as well.
Thank you for listening to the Beyond Brussels podcast. For more information about any of our guests or organizations featured on this episode, please go to our website, beyondbrusselspod.com. That's beyondbrusselspod.com.
Beyond Brussels.